Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/AskReddit. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. What is your town's dark secret? Our town bank got robbed twice by a guy on a bicycle. Twice. Through the drive-thru. The suspect was never found. I'm not sure why I'm laughing because that's really sad on so many levels. I had no idea that other countries have banks with drive-thru. That's amazing. Australia needs to up their game. Not amazing that the suspect didn't get caught and people were probably traumatized, but I couldn't help but have a little giggle that he managed it twice and was on a bike. In 2008, our city's police department pressured a 23-year-old woman to act as a confidential informant in exchange for not being charged on drug charges. She was executed by the dealers while 20 police officers, and some DEA agents, were supposedly supervising the buy. City had to pay out $2.3 million to the family in the civil suit. Cops, war on drugs, and some innocent person getting killed. Name a better trio. My brother was a heroin addict, he got caught with drugs. The DEA told him he can be an informant or go to prison for 10 years. They don't give a fuck, they see drug addicts as less than human. Luckily my brother got out alive and turned his life around, not because what the DEA did to him. A woman, after suffering years of abuse from her husband, finally snapped when she learned he also sexually assaulted their daughter. She killed him, chopped him up, spread him across farms and fed some of him to livestock. She served no time. The last I knew was married to husband number 3 and was selling insurance. If that was hubby number 1 and she's on number 3, what happened to number 2? The fucker had it coming. Everyone fucks each other and wonders why they all have the same diseases. To the tune of the Addams Family. Your sister is your mother. Your uncle is your brother. You all fuck one another. The Norwich Family. Meth. There's about 2 meth busts a year in a population of about 11,000 people, half of which are federal prisoners. Oh hey, it's Pahrump. In 2003 a commando squad attacked my city's prison with AK-47, blasted the door with C4, and in helico landed to exfiltrate the inmate that ordered rescue mission. We live a bit more than a km away from the prison, and got woken up in the night by the assault. It's otherwise a quiet neighborhood LMAO, I was too young to really remember anything though. My parents do full well. You had a full-blown action movie arc happen on a Tuesday. You're in someone's Rust server, I think. In the town my family lived in, a guy was innocently flirting with a girl at a party and 3 guys, late teens, early 20s, dragged him outside and beat him up. This was during a cold but wet late autumn. 9 or so days later his body was found in a swampy area in the woods. The official ruling was that he wandered there on his own drunk and died of exposure. Except there was more than one set of footprints leading up to that area, and his shoes were relatively clean, and on the other side on top of some vegetation with no footprints. One of the guys had a connection to the cops, I think. The neighbors I grew up next to had a father who was molesting the oldest. It went on for many years and had even took her on trips to Disneyland, but was actually taking her to Mexico, and was whoring her out. He was eventually discovered and arrested. The family had their own Dr. Phil episode. Do you know what the episode was called? A local Chinese restaurant was owned by a married couple. They had 2 young girls. Most of their time was spent there as a family. One day a news report went out about one of the girls who went missing. We were asked to check sheds/outbuildings and check for footprints on our property. Police were searching everywhere, based on details given by the couple. A couple days later, if I'm remembering correctly, they finally searched the restaurant and found the missing girl in the freezer, beaten to death. Husband blamed the wife took the blame. Husband escaped the police van escorting him to jail, but didn't get far. Restaurant is now closed and nothing has taken its place. I believe they just painted the windows / made it look like an extension of the other stores in that plaza. Those poor girls. I especially hate it whenever I hear about children being abused. The Christian bookstore on one side of my street is used to launder money from the illegal gambling joint on the other side of my street. They get raided at least twice a year by the sheriff, but they are still operating. So the sheriff is in on it? Robert the Bruce massacred a garrison of English soldiers here. City got sacked during the Jacobite uprisings. Romans killed a big army of Caledonians nearby, and there was that one time the head of a Highland clan rallied his clan and sacked it because he had a feud with it. But that's fine because another laird of that same clan got executed for trying to blow up the King of Scotland with a cannon. A different king to the one that blew himself up with a cannon. Dark Secrets, American town. Someone murdered their spouse 20 years ago, and no one knew about it for a long time. Dark Secrets, European town. The Roman army went on an absolute tear here back in the day. That's one way to go out with a bang. The small town I grew up in was once home to a serial killer, a woman who may have killed at least 42 people, though only 14 bodies were actually found, about 100 years ago. She may have died there, but it was suspected that she staged her own death and left town. They dug up bodies around her house afterwards, including those of her children. Belle Gunness? You left out the best part. My apologies if I get any of this incorrect. Her house caught fire, and it was believed she died in it. They recovered a body. The local doctor inspected the body, and not only was it missing its head, it did not match the proportions of Belle Gunness. Our scumbag MP went to the Caribbean for Christmas and pre-recorded a bunch of videos to look like he was at home. Wore sweaters and had a green screen in cabinet meetings. Our province is on lockdown at the moment due to COVID. We were all told to isolate and not celebrate with members outside our household, and this dude is on a beach. We are the embarrassment of the country. I did not vote for him. His office is in my town. Hi there, I am also a raging angry Ontarian. What a craziest move that was. Pure psycho. Literally Mayor Quimby from The Simpsons. A lot of swingers. Apparently. I can't find him and I've looked. Try the church. That's where my parents found theirs. Try a pineapple, a rock painted white, or decorative grass on your front porch. But not all three, that looks desperate. Famous serial killer here liked to dress up as a clown. Though it couldn't be proven, it's suspected he had accomplices that helped him. They may have gone out on their own. Was his name Jack Napier? Nothing secret about John Wayne Gacy. In a town close to where I lived there was a guy that everyone hated, and rightfully so. He would do things to people's property like burn barns, shoot their dogs, vandalize public areas. But would always somehow get out of trouble for it. One day he rolled up to a common bar that many of the town folk would stay at, and in midday was shot and killed by someone from the bar in the street. The cops all questioned the people around and every one of them said they were too busy playing pool. To this day no one knows who did it, and the murder is still unsolved. I believe they even made a movie over it. Not really a secret, but goddamn dark. About 60 years ago a couple spent 2 years snatching children off the streets, murdering them, and burying them on the nearby moors. They killed 5 children, and 1 body is still missing. Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. Growing up I could see Saddleworth Moor from my bedroom window. One night I woke up and could see lights up on the tops. I thought it was people lamping for rabbits, but after watching for a bit I realized the lights were massive and not moving at all. A few days later it was in the paper that they had been up looking for Keith Bennett. I was watching them search for a dead boy, still creeps me out to this day. My grandparents, who initially built the house I'm in now about 20 years ago, for the first few years got their dial-up internet from some dude who ran his little ISP business out of an old barn. Apparently he also had a meth business. Meth is huge in this part of Wisconsin, and when he was apparently about to be busted, burned everything down, literally, and hung himself. I remember one weekend like 10 years ago when the internet just stopped working and never came back up. I guess that was the day he pulled the plug. The whole thing was in local papers a week later. Dude was selling high speed. Selling meth and internet, that is a smart businessman. Everyone in town needs at least one of those things. The neighboring suburb I used to live in Sydney had been renamed Erskineville. It was interesting as all the addresses or shops would be considered to be Erskineville, but the train station was still called McDonaldtown Station. I did a little digging online and it turns out that in 1800s, we had baby farmers who, for a weekly or monthly fee, would raise babies that were born from affairs or illegitimate marriages. A few years down the track, workers are digging up a yard in McDonaldtown, as it was still called then, to clear a drain, and they found 2 dead babies in the drain. They investigated it further and ended up finding like 15 more. The baby farmers were living off the weekly and monthly fees they were given to take care of these babies, and they were killing them and disposing of them. As a result of these horrible events, they renamed the suburb so it wouldn't be associated with some gruesome history. I don't know why they never changed the station though. This woman was my supervisor at my second job right before she killed her entire family. It's, of course, no longer a secret. But at the time I knew her, her children were begging neighbors for food, and she'd show up to work like nothing was happening at home. I work in social services now, and I've taken that lesson with me. You just don't know what's happening behind closed doors. People who seem okay may not be. You literally cannot know what's going through people's minds, so always be cautious, always be vigilant. Especially in my line of work. I'll just never get over how normal she seemed. So boringly normal. That is so incredibly sad that the children reported abuse to multiple people yet were never removed from the home. I used to work as a foster care case manager, and this breaks my heart. A family down the street from me had a daycare. They had only been there for a few years before the husband of the family was locked up for pedophilia. Apparently the one and only strip club in my hometown was / is run by the Hells Angels. You just described literally every small town strip club from the 1990s to 2010, bonus points if was called Soiled Gold. Apparently Spring, Texas has a human trafficking problem. No one has found literal kids around there. I don't know why, and honestly, I didn't really pay that much attention until I seen like kids I knew on parents' truck and saying we're still looking, and I was like stupidly shitty back then, and I thought to myself, yeah, she ain't coming back, dude. I think she's gone. And it's heartbreaking because now I'm older and I still see these people who are still clinging on to hope and desperation, and I think now, she might come back one day, they might find her. New information might pop up, and I hope that they do find closure. Are you fucking kidding me? I moved here 2 months ago. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.